Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Pints and Quarts, a show brought to you by the Craft Beer Nation. It is Thursday, April 26th, and we have a guest in the house that we have been trying to get on the show since 1933, and we've had no success until now. And then even then, the universe has been trying to fight us. He's on his third device to make this work. We are speaking with Adam from Charles Towne Fermentory. I always say fermentory, but that's wrong. Charles Towne Fermentory. They're making some great beer down in Charleston, South Carolina. So if you ever, if you're there, do yourself a favor and go. You can mention my name. It won't get you a damn thing.
Nope.
But it'll make him feel like, yeah, Randy's out there repping for the homies. So nonetheless, be sure to follow us on our different social media platforms. We tweet at Craft Beer Nation. You can find us on the Instagram at Craft Beer Nation. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. You guessed it, Craft Beer Nation. And we are also on Google+. So before we get into it, let me introduce you to our panel tonight. We have Freddy Rodriguez. How you doing tonight, sir?
What is going on, Randy, Adam? Everyone doing pretty well.
Freddy's been being super healthy lately, so he's drinking Powerade while the rest of us are doing our adult libations. Marcus, how are you doing tonight, man?
Doing good. Down here in Stafford, holding it down. You know, busy work week, but glad to be here with you guys today. Lots of interviews.
Sure. Matt Hyatt, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm drinking beer. I'm like Freddie. I've been trying to live a healthy life, but you got to splurge sometime.
Man, Hyatt, I was about to ask you something about your shirt, but never mind.
It's a little snug, right? I mean,
the Braden Holtby special.
I could take it off. Hold on.
Wait, Hyatt, take that shirt off real quick. Take that shirt off real quick.
Oh my God! Oh, I hate you guys so much.
It's a pretty cool shirt. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Oh my God! Oh, it's on. It is on.
I can see.
Oh my God!
I don't know if that looks like somebody y'all know.
Looks like he's got a wig on.
Adam, you have no idea.
Payback.
It's pretty legit. It's pretty legit. But, no, I'm just saying some goose, but
all right. Well, without
I gotta mute myself.
Marcus?
I'm sweating, and it's not because I'm drinking a high alcohol beer.
Hold on. Let me get something from behind the couch real quick. It might be double-sided.
Wait, click on high. I can't see it. This is it.
It's just the same picture as from the back as well.
Man, this is not the internet show I thought I signed up for.
It might be double-sided. I don't know.
All right, nonetheless, Adam is the Adam Goodwin, CEO. Well, I don't know if you're CEO, but you're co-owner.
That sounds
co-owner, head brewer, brewmaster, chief everything at Charles Towne. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm being healthy too, getting my probiotics.
There you go. I was kind of worried, man. I was like, I don't even know. The last time I was there, we were talking and you told me how often you're at the brewery. And I was like, how is he even going to have time to do this interview tonight? Because he's
I don't. You had to do it after my bedtime.
because you get up early to go to the brewery all over again. Amar, you actually have a home? I thought you lived in the brewery.
No, I'm this is the padded room that we built for me.
Oh, sweet. Perfect. Wonderful. All right, man. So Adam, we usually start our show out asking our guests, how did your love affair with craft beer start? So I'm sure you were drinking some swill before you got into craft beer, but how did you get into this craft beer that we all love?
Sorry there. I had to plug my iPad in because that's about going to die too after all the technical difficulties. I probably got into beer just like anyone else did, just drinking it, when you're too young to.
True. That's how you learn the ropes.
I don't know. I just kind of like a lot of people, I started just homebrewing for fun. Again, a little bit younger probably than I should have been. But, kind of kept doing it through college and stuff. And then about a year after I graduated, I met the guys down at Tired Hands. Well, they just finished demoing their building, so started hanging out with them. Helped them with the build out, and then worked there for a little while, and then moved on to Trillium, and then a couple of years later, here I am in Charleston.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Massachusetts.
Okay.
So
whereabouts?
Cape Cod area. I grew up in Nantucket.
Oh, Nantucket.
Yeah.
So you just gloss over the whole. I went from home brewing to this place to Trillium to opening your place. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I don't mean to. Sorry, this beer was. I had to move so I could plug in the iPad, so I had to reach for that beer. Yeah, no, I mean, I was really lucky to. It was sort of a right place, right time scenario with the guys at Tired Hands, and so I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for that opportunity. And then Trillium was looking for a brewer. They had been kind of keeping an eye on what was going on at Tired Hands, and I guess again, kind of right place, right time. I mean, I was very fortunate to end up with those experiences.
Well, you say right place, right time, but I think it's just a combination of opportunity and preparation. So, I mean, I'm sure they pulled you because they saw something in you, and to have you come on board with them. They, Tired Hands is making great beer. Trillium's making great beer, and now you're doing your thing, making great beer. So that just goes to show that whatever JC saw in you was actually legit. So. But enough about those guys. Let's talk about you. So you're down in Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston has a really burgeoning and really dope craft beer scene. How do you feel about the craft beer scene in Charleston? I have my own thoughts, but how do you feel about the craft beer scene in Charleston and what's on the horizon for it?
Yeah, I mean we're up to a couple dozen breweries operational now down here. It's an awesome scene. There's a ton of diversity. Every brewery is kind of got their niche. Everyone's doing something different. It's awesome. And I know it will continue to grow because, obviously we hear about even more breweries in planning. And yeah, I mean, I think it's going to continue to be a really awesome place for beer in the coming years.
Going on those lines, I've always known, I've only been to Charleston a handful of times, but it seems a lot like the breweries and the food scene are both like exploding together. Is that something that you see as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's awesome because, you get a lot of crossover, obviously, between people who are food and people that are really interested in, craft beer, and pretty much just kind of small crafty products in general. So you get a lot of this kind of push for local ingredients, locally made products, and that's all kind of fed into what's happening with the food and the beer down here. I mean, it's definitely a mutualistic relationship with all of those different kind of growing industries right now down here. Mm-hmm. And so, I love it. I mean, food and beer. That's what else you need?
That's life.
Yeah. You guys have some like super dope partnerships with some food trucks and whatnot down there, because you kind of have like it's not a kitchen built into the brewery, but I guess it's just like an operational space is what you would call it. I don't know.
I mean, it's a I like to call it a prep kitchen because that's about the extent of what you can do in there. It's basically an open kitchen in our tap room that we rotate different chefs through, and that kind of goes along with the kind of budding food scene down here. It is competitive and it's expensive because of that, and our kitchen kind of allows these guys who maybe don't have the money or the opportunity to open their own place, or maybe they're operating out of a food truck, and we kind of give them the space where they can pop in, try out some new recipes, maybe try a new concept that they were trying to do, or maybe it's a chef from another restaurant who just kind of wants to get in a different kitchen for a night and try out a new concept with some of his friends and make us some great food. So yeah, it's one of the best parts about our brewery. I mean, the beer's okay, but the food that these guys are bringing in is awesome.
So, Freddie, you about to say something?
No, I was just gonna ask him about the brewery itself, like the size of brewery production.
Yeah, we our space is about 5,000 square feet. Most of that is dedicated to production, but we have a decent sized tap room. We've got a 15-barrel brew house. We got 5 15-barrel fermenters right now. I mean, we're still a pretty small production. We did about 600 barrels last year. We're looking to do maybe hopefully double that this year.
Okay. I know you guys can some things, right? So do you have a mobile can line? Is that what it is, or?
Yeah, for our bigger runs, we'll have a mobile canner come in.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll do some runs that way. We have done quite a bit of canning manually. That was how we started, doing small runs, 30 to 50 cases, and those are the worst days.
What are your bigger beers that you guys are canning?
In terms of
production,
popularity?
I guess anything that your guys are canning.
We obviously, IPAs are what sell the fastest. So in general, what we'll try to do is can an IPA or maybe 2, and then maybe a beer that we're hoping will make it into the week. We generally do our releases on Saturday, so we're trying to have some beers that we can keep in the fridge throughout the week. So when people come in, there's something available for them. So whether that's, a Goza or a pale ale, or something like that.
Somebody just come into the brewery and just grab a beer and then grab a beer to go, or a 4-pack to go, 6-pack.
Yeah, exactly. So something that people can just pop in on. We're kind of on a major street. So a lot of people on their way to work want to just pop in, maybe grab a 10-ounce beer or something like that, and they want to take some beer home. So that kind of allows us to kind of cater to that rather than someone waiting for a growler or a crowler fill.
Yeah.
So a lot of breweries have certain identities, right? You mentioned, brewing that Tired Hands and also brewing that Trillium, and we kind of know what the bread and butter is for those guys. I mean, they are, New England or Northeast IPA centric breweries. What's your identity as a brewery? What's Charlestown's identity as a brewery? I mean, I know for a fact that you brew some hazy IPAs, but you also brew. I mean, you always have a Zwickel beer on all the time. You brew a dry stout. You brew sours. Do you feel as if you guys have a specific identity as a brewery, or do you want to be a little?
I mean, probably to a degree. I really didn't want to kind of pigeonhole the fermentory in any way in terms of what people were expecting out of us. Obviously, I saw an opportunity for the type of beers that I enjoyed brewing here in Charleston. Even though there was, I guess when I opened, probably about somewhere in the 15 to 20 brewery range. But I still, for the types of beers that I enjoy brewing, I still kind of saw there's opportunity there. So, in terms of what our, I guess, like stylistic identity would be, I think we've become well known for our IPAs. But fortunately, more what I was going for was just to be a great brewery. So, any style that we make, I want it to be, any beer we make, I want it to be really good, and I want people to enjoy it. And I think we've managed to do that. So that's good. People have been enjoying like all kinds of, you mentioned, people have enjoyed the stouts and some of the sour beers that we've made, and some of the other styles. I mean, yeah, we've got his Zwickel. That's what we drink a lot of. We love that beer.
Yeah. Real quick, Mark. I know Marcus has a question, but when I was there, you guys had a I can't remember. It was a weird name. It was a session IPA. Is it something like Zuma? That's probably one of the, and I think I told you this when I was there. I was like, this is probably like one of the best session beers that I've had, because it seems as if session IPAs went from just focusing on being a really drinkable, low ABV IPA to then like Stone and even like Lagunitas with Daytime. Those guys came out with session IPAs that they hopped the hell out of, right? Mm-hmm. And then Zuma, I tried Zuma and I was like, this is like a legitimate, super crushable with a ton of flavor IPA, like sessionable New England IPA with a ton of flavor. It's not watery. It still has body. Has that beer been selling? I know it's already getting a little warm down there. Has that beer been one of your better sellers as of late?
Yeah, when we first brewed that beer, when you came down and had it, that was sort of a last minute decision. Every once in a while, our production schedule is open, so we're like, kind of, what are we going to brew today, and take a look at what we got in stock. And that's kind of how that beer came about. Was we realized that we were going to be short on sort of lower ABV beers, with the idea, and yeah, I mean, the cool thing about that beer is kind of just what you said. I mean, it drinks just like a New England IPA, but it's 4.5%. Yep. So it's actually, something that you can drink throughout the day when you're looking to scratch that itch, but that, maybe you're not trying to get drunk at 3 p.m, or maybe you are. I don't know. Drink more of it.
I would love to. I would love to be, but that's just me. Go ahead, Marcus.
But yeah, it's been doing all right. So we've actually brewed it since then.
Sweet. Keep brewing it.
And then mail it up here to Randy.
We're happy with it.
The question I have, I mean, I understand, you're running a business, but you're also doing your passion. How do you skate that line between something that you want to brew to sell and then something you want to brew that you truly enjoy? Because I'm sure you have certain beers that just, you sell the hell out of, but you may get tired of brewing that same beer. So how do you satisfy the customer in that demand, but yet brew something that you enjoy making?
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate in that we're small enough right now that we're really able to brew beers that we want to drink pretty much all the time, and we're fortunate that other people want to drink them too. Mm-hmm. And in general, if we get the inspiration to brew, whatever, we can do that, and it's 15 barrels. Whether we want to send a little bit out to distro or we're selling it in the tap room, I mean, it's not a ton of beer that, if it doesn't move in a week, oh well, we've got another beer on tap for another week. Right on. But you're gonna find people that will enjoy it. But I mean, you're right. That's kind of like, when people ask, what are the plans for growth and all that? I mean, that's sort of one of the things that comes up. For me, it's like the bigger we get, the further away I get from brewing. And that's something that I don't want to see happen. I like being in the brew house, but yeah, that is sort of the side effect of one of the negative side effects, I should say, of starting a business out of passion, is that you have to run a business. So fortunately, I don't mind brewing IPAs, like if that's what sells the most, it's totally cool. I mean, people have been pretty receptive to most of the other things that we're brewing too. So we love all our beers equally.
Nice. But go ahead, Rain.
As far as growth is concerned, your passion for beer is in the brew house, like you said, but all too often we hear people who get into the game, they're no longer able to brew because the aspect of it being a business takes them away from that, and they have to hire other people to brew their beer for them. There are several models of a brewery that can work. Do you like where you guys are right now, or do you want to continue to grow and become maybe like a instead of being like a small local brewery, do you want to grow to become a regional brewery? Do you want to grow to become like an East Coast powerhouse? Because once you do that, those are gonna, that's gonna be the type of thing that prevents you from being in the brew house and focusing more on the operations aspect of things.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I love where we're at right now because of that. I mean, we have a small crew. I'm not saying that I don't ever want to hire more brewers or whatever, because I mean, it takes a team to make, every aspect of this work sustainably. And, we have an awesome team down here, and where we're at right now is awesome because, like I'm saying, I get to brew, I still brew every batch of beer. And it's fun, at the end of the day, I get to hang out in the tap room with our customers. Every aspect of what we're doing right now is fun, but, do I want to grow? I mean, I want everyone who works for us. I want everyone to be able to make a living, and be comfortable and happy. And, so that's about as far as we want to take growth right now, just like with, what type of beers we like to brew. Like, I don't really want to say definitely, we're never going to do this, or we're definitely going to do that, or, I like to leave it open. We'll see what happens. We're not forcing growth. We're going to let it all happen organically. We're going to let, you guys, we're going to let our customers dictate it. But, do we want to be, like, my goal is not to be, distributed across the country. That's not my goal. Our goal when we opened was to be a community brewer. We're happy with where we're at, but we'll see what happens,
Yeah, I think people lose sight of the fact that that's a model that can work, because breweries started out being community based. I mean, more specifically neighborhood based, right? I mean, back in the days when they had neighborhood pubs. So I respect that, and I wish that more people would realize that you can be a small brewery and still be successful. You don't have to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing, right? So,
right.
Hi, you were about to ask something, Matt?
Yeah. So I guess my question was, so you mentioned distribution, like, so outside of your state, how many states are getting your beer? Is it local distribution? Is it statewide, or is it out of state?
I can answer that for him. Tap room distribution,
or what is Adam's plans for outside of tap?
So you're telling me I have to wait for Randy to go back home to South Carolina to bring beer back?
Like right now, yeah.
Or find a Charleston plug.
You are my Charleston plug.
I wish I knew somebody in South Carolina that did beer. Let me think about that.
I don't know anyone down there. Our distro right now is pretty it's pretty limited. We're not doing a ton outside of really like the Charleston Tri-County area. A little bit makes it out to a couple other counties. But I mean, we don't regularly distribute outside of about an hour from here.
Yeah.
Is that for a quality perspective, or that's just where you are right now?
I mean, it started as a way to keep as tight a control on quality as possible. We signed with a local distributor that opened 3 months before we did. And when they opened, they were just Charleston, one truck, and a couple guys. They've grown a little bit, which is why we have a couple of kegs that trickle out and the tribe. But yeah, I mean, our goal when we opened wasn't to flood the distro market. Our goal wasn't to get every tap tower in town and expand and balloon. We were strategic, and we continue to be strategic about where the beer goes once it leaves the brewery. Obviously, sending it to, or hoping that it ends up in the places that are very beer centric and beer focused, we know that it's going to be handled well. And so, at this point, we've built our taproom sales to a where we're not sending a ton out still, and that's great because we're not having to go to 200 accounts to make sure that the lines are getting cleaned and the beer's getting stored cold. And so yeah, I mean, it's it's a number of things. Quality is always it's the number one thing that we're concerned about, is making sure that when someone gets our beer, whether it's the first time or the 50th time, we want it to be a good experience for the customer.
Adam, one of our Facebook friends, Justin Johnson, down in I say down in Richmond, Virginia, but up in Richmond, Virginia for you. He wants to know if you guys are going to can Sunnyside and Ralph.
Sunnyside?
That's what he said, Sunnyside. Are you going to can Ralph? Let's start with Ralph.
Is that Ralph a variant or what?
Ralph is the name of our Zwickel beer. And we have canned it before.
There you go, Justin.
And we will probably end up having. Yeah. Can't believe you call him your friend.
I was like Sunnyside.
Sunnyside is not a beer that exists
yet
from us anyway.
No, I'm
Justin, come on, man! You're giving out the secrets.
I got another quick one. This is more like I guess a brewery inside thing. So you're at Tired Hands, you're at Trillium. Like when you're creating these recipes for certain beers, does that stick with them? Do they own that idea that you put out and say, hey, this is the beer that I wrote out? Or do you keep some stuff like, oh, I would love to write this? Do you keep it in your back pocket? Like when I open my own spot, this is what I do. I mean, if that's too much of a personal question, feel free to say, I don't know what you're talking about.
No. I mean, so that's kind of what's so cool about these breweries, where they're doing such great things and they're such, you know what I mean? Like the beer is going to be inevitably different if you take pretty much the same recipe from brewery to brewery. And the other thing is, I mean, there's different techniques. Those recipes are evolving constantly. And so it's kind of another cool thing about where these breweries are right now too, is just that it's like that one beer, it ultimately it really doesn't matter. They're going to brew a different IPA, that they'll put out in cans and release, next week, and then a different IPA the following week, and then a different IPA the following week, or, or whatever style it is. So, no one's I've never had a situation, or I've never really heard of one, at least, in the small to medium sized breweries, where a brewer leaves and someone calls them and says, hey, I'm pretty sure that's the same recipe. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm sure it does. But, it's not something that I've run into.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway.
Even if you brew the same exact beer that you brewed at Trillium, like what people don't know, like just the water chemistry alone can change the flavor, the texture, the profile of a beer.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a little bit. I know a little.
What it tastes like, what it feel like.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is like every day someone comes up with a new idea or new technique, and all this stuff is constantly evolving. So, whatever a brewer was brewing at one place, they're going to be doing it differently. I mean, especially, when you move to a different brewery, whether it's someone else's or your own, you are either not restricted, or you're restricted more by is sort of at your disposal there, what your requirements are at that brewery. So
let me clear up Justin's good name. Clear up Justin's good name.
What was his good name?
What was his good name? Let me see if I can bring his reputation back. The confusion was on my Sunnyside is an Ocelot beer. Justin was saying that all he needs in life is Sunnyside and Ralph, and he'd be done. So and then he had us another question, was when are you guys canning Ralph? And I got you. So Justin
knows what he's talking about.
Justin knows what he's talking about. Justin's legit. Justin's legit.
Okay.
But,
and just to be clear, I know Justin. So just so like if anyone watches this, like that dude is a dick.
you know Justin, and Adrian, who brews Sunnyside. So there you go.
Man, I still have coming between.
Quick question, Fairman. I guess his perspective on just craft beer right now in general. I guess like
Man, Freddie, don't take my question.
Well,
I was
no.
gonna ask this. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, not even. Well, this is more general. So like, you see, like American craft beers have been known to like push the boundaries of things, and nowadays you see everything. It's like the more popular the New England style IPAs, big pastry stouts, barrel aged pastry stouts, tons of adjuncts, all crazy. But just browsing at your website and you talking, I see you're still really big into like the German lagers and that style of beer and some more traditional style beers. Where do you see like craft beer now going? Do you think that's good, or is it a little overkill right now? All this craziness and like, or do you think that's actually good for beer in general?
I mean, pushing the boundaries and having diversity and choice is a great thing. As long as the beers are good, I guess is really kind of like what I see people are concerned with. So it's like, an imperial stout, just a straightforward imperial stout, really well made, is awesome, and people really appreciate that. And that's cool. The consumer is becoming more educated on just what a well-made beer is. Getting inspired by some just kind of ancient dessert or something like that, and putting all those ingredients into a stout and having creating something that's cool and unique and different and actually really well made. That's awesome too. I mean, there's a place for all of that. I don't think that's that any of that is necessarily like bad. I know a lot of people kind of frown upon sort of lots of adjuncts and stuff like that, but if the beer is well made and they all work, then
why not?
Then that's awesome. Yeah. So, I did try to make some more kind of traditional styles, and we just whatever we're doing. Nice. We try to we just try to focus on executing whatever we're doing. We just want it to be really really well made, and I think that the market in general, the consumer, like I said, is becoming more educated, and it's just that's the direction that it's going. It's just that people are going to be able to discern a really good pastry stout versus a really bad pastry stout. So I mean, I think ultimately that's where it's heading. I mean, you see kind of like people are actually starting to enjoy some lighter lagers and stuff again. And I think that's really cool. I mean, that needs to exist in the craft beer world.
Yeah, it's almost like a balance, because it's like things go super crazy. It's like we added marshmallows, we added graham crackers, we did this, and this. And then people are like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Like, to me, that is what American craft beer is. It's taking this, hey, we have this Pilsner. Well, what happens if we do this? What happens if we do the hop boil here? What happens if we add the hops at the end of the boil? What happens if we just brew a beer completely and then just add hops just for flavor? That's how you get, your 0 IBU IPA.
Stop.
But it's almost it's the balancing act. The market is always going to balance itself, because people are going to go crazy, and then people are going to be like, I'm going to drink this traditional Zwickel, like you're saying. That's a traditional German. I believe that's a German lunchtime beer, right? That they serve like during breaks. It's like low ABV, maybe like 3 or 4%.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically a number of their lagered beers, that generally served right from their lagering tanks.
Mm-hmm.
So, the way I generally describe it is it's almost like an unlagered lager.
You say like an unlagered lager?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically you go through the process of making a lager, and this would be basically the beer that was served before it was finished lagering.
Mm-hmm.
So, directly from the cellar tanks. Zwickel is the German term for the sample valve.
So still hazy, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of a haze to it. It's still got some cool
New England style lager
character.
Yeah, I mean, because the lagering process takes the haze and it clarifies the beer. But
I was gonna say, explain the lagering process. Right. People may not know. I'm not trying to throw shade or anything at you, Randy.
No.
So the cool thing about that beer is, it's basically lagering in the keg. So if we have a keg, the day we take it out of the tank, and then, we have one from a batch, 2 months prior. I mean, it's bright, it's clear, that the one that's been lagered for 2 months. So it's kind of cool because you have that beer, throughout its life, and you're kind of sampling it throughout the lagering process, which is pretty cool.
So let me ask you this, man, and just speaking about the state of craft beer, and I'm only using these guys as an example because I'm not asking you to comment on them specifically, but Treehouse. No. I want you to comment on
Here we go.
Like, I feel like craft beer has gotten out of hand.
You gotta stop craft beer in 2018. There
are a lot of people who actually, we really love the product, right? I mean, hell, that's why we're doing this tonight. We don't make money doing this. We do this because we're passionate about craft beer. We love talking to guys like you.
Well, I'm not getting paid for this.
I don't know. You need to
in 2023.
Not this year.
2023. You get a check.
But
my royalties.
A percentage of Bitcoin.
Here's my point. Treehouse just put out King Julius. We've seen this beer going on secondary for like $60 for a can.
$100.
$100 for a can.
$600 in a razzle.
$600 for a 4-pack.
No, I don't. I mean, I feel as if those people are kind of taking the fun out of craft beer, right? Craft beer used to be about having respect and cherishing the liquid, and also sharing it with your friends who may not be able to get it. You send it to them, they send you some stuff that they can't get. You know what I'm saying? It was about the liquid and appreciating the liquid, but now it seems to be, in my opinion, there's a big money grab associated. Now I get if you get a bottle of Cantillon that's not readily available and somebody wants to cop it from you, you know what I'm saying? You charge that price for it or whatever, but it's a double IPA, and folks are willing to drop
losing their minds over
one that's going to be brewed again in about 3 to 6 months.
And not only that, one that might not taste that different from one that they currently have. And so do you have an opinion on where craft beer is right now, and whether or not it's kind of sort of a little bit maybe has gotten out of hand?
There's a lot of aspects to that question, I guess.
I don't blame Treehouse, by the way. I don't blame Treehouse.
Oh, it's not on Treehouse. They sold it for what, $23? That's on someone else.
Yeah, I mean, if there weren't people that were fanatic about this industry and about what we're creating, we wouldn't be where we are. So there's that aspect. We need people, we need big fans, we need people that are out there.
Nah, those aren't fans, Adam. Those aren't fans. Those are zealots.
Not even zealots. Those are people that are just looking out for a profit.
You're gonna have that too. I mean, you're gonna have people that see dollar signs in any industry, and they're gonna take advantage of people that are willing to be gouged, I guess. I mean, I don't know. There's multiple aspects to what's going on, and it's hard to because I agree with you. Like, I opened a brewery with the idea of being a community neighborhood brewery. We want people to come in. We want people to have the beer with us. I want to sit down at the bar with you and have a beer. Yeah. And that's how we envision the beer being experienced. But everyone can't come to Charleston. I guess you should. It's awesome.
Yeah, I kind of think of it like almost like the housing market. Like, I look at, like, my in-laws have 88 acres in North Carolina, but it's in North Carolina 2 hours away from the biggest city. But you take that same house,
you're probably not going to have someone ship you a tree, though.
Yeah. Well, even if you look at an apartment, like an apartment where I am, you can get a decent apartment for $1,000. You put that same apartment in DC, you're talking maybe three and a half, maybe $4,000 because of where you are. And is it really worth that? It depends on you. So it's like you have to let the market speak for itself. If someone wants to give me $600 for a 4-pack of beer, it's kind of hard for me if I had that beer to be like, yeah, I gotta flip it. But then it's the integrity. The integrity of it is like, I know full damn well these 64 ounces of beer I have is not worth $600. Like my trading thing, I'm done trading. My thing is looking out for my guys. Like I'll go somewhere and be like, hey, Randy, I'm here. What do you need? Oh, Marcus, just grab me this crowler. Cool, no problem. Freddie will send me a box just like, hey, I sent you a box. I'm like, oh man, I'm going so-and-so and so-and-so. Hey, can I send you something? No, don't worry about it. I just sent that because I thought you might like it. And same thing with Hyatt. That's our little network. That's how maybe it's more based on a friendship than it is on I'm going to gouge these guys and make as much max profits as I can.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. There's people with good intentions. There's people with maybe not so great intentions. And so, yeah, I mean, it's tough. Do I think that it's destroying craft beer? I mean, no. I don't think it's destroying craft beer. Maybe it's disrupting a certain idealistic aspect of it. But you know what? Like, there's so much good beer nowadays. I guess the biggest thing is first and foremost, just make sure that as a consumer, you're supporting your local brewery. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. And then after that, I mean, who knows? Who knows who's to say what's good and bad otherwise? I mean, there's just so many aspects to what people are doing. But again, the fact that people are I understand there are some people that don't have good intentions that are, gouging craft beer fans. And that sucks. That there's so much attention and fanaticism around craft beer is great.
Yeah. I mean, it advances the culture. It advances, what I'm saying, this liquid that we're all passionate about, but it makes it a little bit more. The more exposure that people get to it, I mean, it's going to make it a little bit more mainstream and more, I guess, approachable. Yeah, I think the bottom line is there's, what I'm saying, we've all been in this game for a minute, and the fact of the matter is there's some bad that comes along with the good that we're going to have to tolerate. The bad, the stuff that's bad and the stuff that's really extreme, we can only hope that attrition is gonna cause that stuff to kind of bleed out, and what's true will remain, right? So
yeah, and I was gonna say, I agree with supporting locals, but your locals have to be at least decent for you to truly support them. Like I can't. That's in another good story, faith, Marcus. I know. I'm just saying. I agree completely. Like I have a great local near me. Randy knows it. That's where we go when Randy comes down. But there are there are literally three breweries that we pass to go to that brewery.
Yeah. And
2 other breweries that are in the same city that we ignore. I mean, I'm not going to name names.
Hey, so anyway, Adam.
I'm sorry. I should have. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Matt, we drank there together. Stop it.
Before we take
I don't even know where you're from.
Before we take off, man, I know you guys are going to be at Juicy Brews. You're going to be pouring beer at Juicy Brews down in Richmond here coming up. I think they're in Richmond. Is there anything else that you guys are going to be doing? You got any upcoming releases you want to drop, and any upcoming pourings that you want to drop?
One we're excited about is we've actually got Eric from Magnify coming down this weekend, so we're going to brew with him to do a beer for the what do they call it? Common Grounds, which is kind of up in your neck of the woods, up in Virginia Beach, the collab event that Commonwealth puts on.
Oh, Commonwealth and Common Grounds, the coffee company, right? No?
What?
I'm sorry.
Adam's like, yes.
Maybe.
Sure, it probably is too. Common Grounds is the festival that Commonwealth puts on in Virginia Beach. Yeah, no, am I missing?
No, I'm sorry.
No, we hear from Bobby, so it's a little.
Okay, so Common Grounds, Juicy Brews.
Yep.
Adam, are you personally coming up for Juicy Brews in Richmond?
I would like to. I always enjoy a trip to Richmond.
You make it sound like they won't let you.
I don't know if they will anymore. No, our schedule is just so crazy. It's really hard to plan that far ahead. I don't even know what I'm brewing tomorrow morning, so I know that I'm brewing.
I have some ideas.
Yeah, what you got?
We'll talk about that.
That's an off-air
conversation.
Hey, Randy, spit the hot fire. Do it.
That's an off-air conversation all day.
Adam, you guys got any releases coming up in the next few weeks or so that you can talk about?
Well, we're going to be releasing that Magnify beer once that's finished up. We're getting into saison season, so we got a couple saisons and kind of some funky stuff that's going to be coming out soon. Some of our barrels are finally starting to come to fruition, so some of those projects will start finding their way into bottles here in the next couple months.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys have a fun summer lined up.
Any other collabs besides Magnify?
Adam, I don't know if you know this, but Randy Gardner Jr., aka the Velvet Rope, always says there's room for fruited saison season. There's always room. Look at his face. Look at his face. He loves fruited saison. Look at his face. Look how happy he is.
I'm saying nobody likes a basic saison.
So what?
People tolerate basic saisons, but they really want some funk at it.
I know one person does that.
They want to spin on their saison, even if they don't know.
Well, make sure you get something good, Randy.
My man.
One person
Adam,
does basic.
Adam, thank you for coming on. Cheers. This is for you.
Hey, cheers. I don't know what happened to my beer. Oh, here it is.
There went Marcus's beer.
What are you drinking, Adam?
I got a 2015 Crooked Stave Surette.
That lasted the whole interview?
That's right.
You guys have been keeping me entertained.
Well, that's true, too.
He hasn't had time to drink. He's been talking.
We've been peppering him with questions left and right.
I saw the glassware.
Getting this back on the rails.
Go all the way to the refrigerator.
That glassware, though, it was that's from Richmond. Were you guys in Richmond?
East Coast Covenant.
All right, why are you so late to this?
East Coast Covenant.
All right, so
it wasn't talked about before.
That was the first minute of the show, Matt.
All right.
That might have been when I first was actually able to get on this damn thing.
I feel like a CNN commentator when the panel's going off the rails and the commentator can't.
Are you Van Jones right now? Vance Jones, what's his name?
So Adam, thank you so much, man. I hope that you're gonna hang out with us a little bit in the after party, but then again, you probably gotta go to bed because you get up. The Brewers life says get up at 3:00 in the morning. But anyway,
Brewers get up early. I thought they just got up late and just like chilled.
Hang out the brewery.
Yeah, we just show up. The beer's made. I mean, it's just like the commercials.
That's why you're supposed to have assistants, right? Clydesdale's running through, just get it done.
Yeah.
But
I actually ride to work on Clydesdales.
That
Clydesdale, like midget Clydesdales. He's one on under each foot.
Little horse
right over the bridge.
Little horse Clydesdales.
Incorrect.
What's wrong with you?
Okay, I'll have the midget Clydesdale community send the emails to me.
Little horse Clydesdales.
If you all right, Adam, thank you so much, man. Like I said at the beginning of the show, we have been trying to put this interview together for a while. You are a very, very busy man, and I totally understand why you couldn't do it. But nonetheless, we appreciate you carving some time out for us tonight and just talking to us a little bit about who you guys are. You know what I'm saying, where you're going, and just talking about the state of the craft beer community as it exists right now. So at the end of the day,
yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you, man. We
thank you for
continuing to try to have me on. I appreciate that.
Adam, thank you for
I like to
coming
play
on.
hard to get, Randy. I appreciate it.
And we are persistent people, man. So you know, we will pursue you, man. So
You better put out.
wow.
Save it for the after party.
So,
And this will be aired.
ladies and gentlemen, I
We're gonna
unfortunately
edit that out, right? We're gonna edit
nope.
this out.
This is live.
Live, all the way live. Randy, we have the same problem. Broken glass.
YouTube is about to pull us from the live in
Right.
10 seconds.
So
Don't see nipples.
for the people watching right now, we're about to go into the after party. If you want to get in and have some fun, hit me up. Let me know on Facebook. That said, Adam, thank you so much for your time, man. Ladies and gentlemen watching, remember to find some good friends, find some great beer, and mind those P's and Q's.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.